Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Axel Jammeh si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
It's coming up to 9 minutes past 9 o'clock, and Dr. Ismail Ceesay has just joined us with a mountain of paper. So today, even if you want 10 hours, I'll give you 10 hours. Doc, welcome back.
Good morning, Peter.
I thought somebody, was encouraging you to boycott the program.
I don't do boycotts.
Good to have you. And where do we start?
Well, we start with updates.
Okay.
The first update is from the presidency. It's a diplomatic engagement in Gabon. The president, His Excellency, traveled to Gabon last weekend to participate in the inauguration of the newly elected president there in Gabon. The name is a bit long, Oligui Nguema, Brice Oligui Nguema. If you would recall, he came in as to a coup d'etat. And as
I'm glad you're using the word.
Through a coup d'etat, yes. And now he brought in a new constitution and reverted the country back to democracy. So I think it was important that some African leaders, 8 of them were invited to go as a gesture of encouragement that at least one country is now moving from autocracy to democracy. So the president attended and took the opportunity to meet a cross-section of Gambians who are living in Gabon. Also, the president did what they call the National Development Project Tour last Wednesday. He went around the Greater Banjul area inspecting current projects. For example, the USET building in Brikama, the University of Science and Technology, which will be inaugurated in June 2025, is almost done. But also he visited the National Lab for Food and Drugs in Brusubi, the new lab which is being built there. He also visited the OIC hotel site in Bijolo and the Gambia Maritime headquarters and also the Egyptian hospital in Kanifing. And then the Negma ferry site in Banjul. The Turkish are building a new ferry site to add to the existing ferries. And finally, he visited the EFSTH construction, the ongoing construction going on there. So, and also he, on the 1st of May, during Labour Day celebrations at Makati Square, he made a surprise visit and interacted with workers who were celebrating. That was a very good gesture of the president, because the president is always concerned with the plight of workers. That is why he insisted that their salaries, particularly in the civil service, be increased. What we want to do as a government is to ensure that we have a right environment, favorable environment for all workers in the Gambia.
Did he go to May Day because of the stadium, to see the stadium, or?
No, the May Day was at Makati Square.
Or was it at Makati?
Not at the stadium.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It was at
it was at the Makati Square. Yeah. So the vice president also launched what they call the Pura Broadcasting Compliance Platform. It's a new platform by Pura, which does a 24 hours monitoring of all broadcasting platforms in the country. This is to promote press freedom, but also to ensure that there is compliance with broadcasting laws.
This is not to monitor what is going on.
No. I mean, it's just to ensure that there is compliance. Okay. There is compliance. And also, the Ministry of Transport is pleased to announce that the fully refurbished Kanilai ferry is back. I'm pleased to inform the public that because of Kanilai's entrance, the backlog of cars that were outside the terminal in Banjul were empty, to the extent that they had to recall the Kanilai ferry because there are no cars. The traffic was very seamless and smooth. So that is good news. Kanilai is back, and the operating hours of the ferry has now been changed from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. In another...
Change from what? Now it's now 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
11 p.m. Yes, it has been extended.
Okay, from what?
I think it ended at 10.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but now extended to 11. Another update is that now the Independence Stadium, finally, we played our home game there against Algeria on Saturday. Even though we couldn't win, it was a draw match, but at least we are now back on home ground. I think this is good news. And the penultimate update is from NAWEC. NAWEC has ended its 8-year contract with
Hooray! People like me are celebrating.
From the 2nd of May, that was a couple of days ago, Car Power is no more. Now NAWEC wants to ensure energy security by relying on existing energy infrastructure to generate energy for this country. I think this is good news. And finally, this one is coming from the Sadara Kairaba International Conference Center. The OIC Secretariat has been disbanded insofar as managing insofar as managing the OIC Conference Center and the VVIP Lounge is concerned. There is a new entity which is created, which is called the Banjul International Convention Center, the new government-owned entity responsible for managing the SDKJ International Conference Center and the VIP airport facilities. Let it be known that from the 1st of May, the government will continue, this new entity will continue to oversee security arrangements at the BICC. So
and when you say disbanded, is it just a change of name? It's the same personnel?
No, it's not the same personnel. It's a new entity created to now manage.
Who's heading this new entity now?
We don't know. I don't know the people there, but I know it's a new entity created. So now the OIC Secretariat is no more. It was created to oversee the summit, to oversee these facilities for the summit. The summit is over, and now there's a new management for the Kairaba Conference Center, but also the VVIP facility at the airport.
Okay.
So these are the updates from government.
Okay.
Now, coming to the issue of the article, we've read, I think there's a statement we released yesterday as a government.
Which we read through on the
Yes,
program.
which I heard that you read through. I just wanted to make some clarifications with regards to that article. Now, the article made some statements, but one thing I can emphasize is that the article did not in any way indicate with evidence any wrongdoing on the part of government. That is clear. I'm waiting for anybody to pinpoint to me any part of that article which really, with evidence, has indicated any wrong on the part of government. Now, let me just go through some of the statements there. It says all his assets, that is all Jammeh's assets, were forfeited to the state, which is true. He said, but the process of recovering this loot has been mired with alleged corruption, with officials of the current administration allegedly selling assets to friends, family, and themselves at prices only a fraction of their worth. This statement is false. There's no evidence to really back this. And that to the public, information about buyers of these assets, amounts at which they were sold, and the circumstances is left with speculation, which is also not true. It says so far only $23 million was recovered, which is over $1 billion, over 1.2 billion. That is true. But not all assets are also sold. Some assets are kept for public use. Some are kept for future generations. Some are also kept currently used by the government. For example, the biggest hospital in Farad is one of those assets. Now, one thing that is also clear is that the sales agent that he mentioned, that Binta is a sales agent for Alpha Capital, is also false. The manner in which Alpha Capital disposing of the assets was very transparent through competitive bidding. They didn't need any sales agent. So he also said that his sources told him, Mustafa, that Binta was acting as sales agent for Alpha, which is also false. Now, the sales happened in two ways. One is the sales by the commission itself. The cows, the tractors, and the cars. It's for the commission now to tell us how that went. But nonetheless, government has done an audit, NAO has done a comprehensive audit of these transactions, and very soon the audit report will be out. But that one is a separate transaction. The commission did the auction for the cows, the tractors, and the cars. Let the commission's head come and tell us how they did that. But
who's the commission's head?
It was Ami Bensouda who was there.
No, she was lead counsel.
Yes, but they were there with. But what I'm saying is that that is for the commission to now explain how they did those sales, the auctions, and all that. What the government could vouch for is that the sale of the estates and the shares, which is done through the receiver, which is Alpha Capital, was a very transparent process. In a manner in which, in fact, the manner in which Alpha was appointed did not violate any law. there was a ministerial task force. After the white paper was published and gazetted, the task force instructed the then AG to appoint Alpha Capital as the receiver, and the manner in which the assets were sold were very transparent. It was advertised on the website, people sent their bids, and it was transparently open, and the winners were announced in a very transparent way. And through this process, over $1 billion was recovered. So for Mustafa to say that someone was acting as an agent is false. It's not true. There was no agent, and the process was very transparent. So these are the clarifications I want to do, that most of the allegations that Mustafa in fact made were allegations against the commission. That is, there was no transparency in the manner in which some of these loose assets were disposed of. We are waiting for the report. Very soon, the government will publish a comprehensive list of those who purchased the assets of Jammeh, but also the audit report, which is almost done, will also give us an idea as to the comprehensive nature of these transactions and how they went about in terms of the valuation. One thing I can also inform the public is that when it comes to the estates and the shares that were sold off by the receiver, in fact, the government made much more money than they were evaluated. They sold them above the valuation prices. So government did not. So the thinking that they were sold at a fraction of their valuation is not true, except perhaps for the cars and the cows and the tractors sold by the Jammeh Commission through auction. I'm not sure about that. But the ones that has been done by the receiver, most of the properties were sold above the valuation price.
Okay. So that's all about the Republic.
Yes, that is all about the Republic. Just to say the process was transparent. It followed due process. And the report of the Republic did not in any way evidence pinpoint any wrongdoing on the part of government. Most of the article talked about how some of the assets were disposed of in a manner which is not but those assets concerned the Jammeh Commission assets that were disposed of by the Jammeh Commission. That is, the cows, the tractors, and the cars.
And you had no problem, ministers at the time buying these assets.
But who said ministers bought assets there? There is no evidence to that. If we see the evidence, that is what the audit report will tell us that. We'll get the comprehensive report, then we will know who bought and who did not buy.
Are you asking me who said that ministers bought?
Yes.
Or
no, I'm not. I'm saying there's no evidence yet.
Okay.
To that effect, until and unless the report is out, a comprehensive report, we'll know exactly who bought and who did not buy. For now, all we hear is speculation. So X bought, X did not buy. We need to see a comprehensive report, and I think the audit report will help us with that. But government will also ensure that we publish the full report as to what happened. Gambians need to know what happened. I think government is transparent in this process. We have nothing to hide. We have no one to protect. And then we will make sure that we publish everything that the Gambians need to know surrounding the forfeiture of these assets and their subsequent sale.
So government would only believe a report generated by the National Audit Office, not from any journalist, including Mustafa Kedabo.
No, what I'm saying is that the National Audit Reports audit is more comprehensive. Mustafa Kedabo, some of the allegations he said sources say, for example, the relationship between Alpha Capital and Ba and former.
Yeah, he can't name his sources.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is that, but I understand that.
Yeah.
But his report has flaws. Some of these statements are not true. For example, the fact that Binta was a sales agent for Alpha Capital is false, completely false. So I think that needs to be very clear. And also, his statement that the manner in which the estates were disposed of was not transparent is also false. There's ample evidence to suggest that the sales were very transparent in a manner that followed due process. It was advertised on news. It was advertised on the websites. There was a closed bidding process whereby a competitive one, whereby what you bid is not known to the others and is open publicly, and the winners were announced, and you are told to pay it in an account. In fact, nobody was receiving money. So that process was very flawless and transparent. Now, when it comes to the Jammeh Commission sales and auction, that one, we can wait for the report to come out and we know exactly what happened there. So I think that needs to be very clear.
So what if the National Audit Report comes out and corroborates what Mustafa Kedabo has published? Would you still continue to disbelieve the findings of the NAO? Because just as you are disbelieving the report of Mustafa?
What I'm saying is that currently what we have as evidence. No, I understand your point.
Okay.
I'm not making statements for the transparency and the and the manner in which they were disposed of with the Jammeh Commission. I'm not vouching for that. I don't know what happened there. What I can speak with certainty is that this.
But he's told us, and you're saying you don't believe.
No. I'm saying about no. What I didn't believe is the one concerning the sales by the receiver. We need to make this distinction.
Okay.
The sales by the Jammeh Commission. I'm not denying what he's saying because I don't have the evidence to that.
Okay.
I'm saying these are allegations he has made. The allegations against the receiver himself in terms of the agent and the manner in which it was. That's what I'm now
so you're
refuting.
speaking for the receiver, not what the Jammeh Commission did.
That is what we have
as you say.
For now,
it's either for their chairman or lead counsel or whatever to speak for themselves.
Exactly. But for the receiver that the government has appointed as the receiver to dispose of these assets, that one, some of these claims made are false. That one, I can with certainty say that there was no sales agent in this process, and the process was transparent, and it followed due process.
The good thing I find about the report is at least, it has spurred you to action. Now, government has said they will come out with the full list that has been demanded from even before the Jammeh Commission wrapped up. And government showed no interest, but now that this report has come out, suddenly, we are seeing action. That is positive.
My understanding is that government had submitted this list to the National Assembly.
Oh, it's in the National Assembly?
That is my understanding, yes. That is what I've been
so
told.
Why is the National Assembly not making this?
It's been submitted to the National Assembly, and a report was submitted to the National Assembly. But like you said, this is democracy, Peter. Actions sometimes lead to reactions.
Yes.
And democracy works like that. Even in other developed countries, sometimes the government will do an investigation into some issue and would not publish it until a journalist digs in and comes up, and the government is forced to publish it.
Whistleblower.
Huh?
Whistleblower.
Yeah, exactly. So this is democracy. But one thing I can really assure, and I can speak with certitude, is that government has no interest in hiding the identity of those who bought these assets. We are not interested in protecting anyone, and we believe that...
Even if the president is involved?
No, I mean, he's not involved.
You know that for sure?
For sure.
Okay.
He's not involved. That is why we have made a commitment to publish the comprehensive. And also
the question is, even if he was involved, would there be publication of this list?
Well, what I'm saying is that's a hypothesis, and I don't like to comment on hypothesis. Even if he and the if makes it a hypothesis, I don't want to comment on that. What I can assure you is that government has no interest in hiding anything. This was a transparent process. It was done following due process, and we'll publish the report, a comprehensive report, and also the audit report, but also the names of those who purchased the assets.
Very good. And you were busy on Saturday, rubbing shoulders with journalists as, the world celebrates. Are you done with everything you came to?
Yes, I'm done, yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Because I thought, I had a mountain of paper, but just a lot of paper, but, not much content. Yes, well done for joining the media fraternity on Saturday to celebrate another World Press Freedom Day. Of course, Gambia has a lot of reason to celebrate. Never mind the its current ranking on the Reporters Without Borders Index.
Yes, you are right. I've seen that we've gone down slightly from, I think, 5th to 11th. But looking at it from the point of view of the entire period, I think we've done well. Before the President, His Excellency, came into power, we are nowhere to be found in the ranking. But now, at least, we were 5th, I think, last year. This year we went to 11. There are many factors that led to that, and these factors don't necessarily have to do with the media environment. One thing we can assure the public is that the government has a commitment to continue creating an environment for the media to thrive, for press freedom to exist, and also for the media to practice their vocation without fear or favor. And that is what is happening now. Anybody, you can disagree with the government, but we've created an environment where press freedom is guaranteed, where journalists don't fear for their lives anymore, where journalists can say whatever they want to say and hold government accountable and yet go home and sleep and join their families. This is what is happening. Now, we will engage the GPU very soon and other stakeholders in civil society to have a comprehensive look at the report and why we've gone down in the ranking, and then understand those factors and find solutions to them so that we have an target to go back to.
You don't think, the president's relationship with The Voice might have contributed?
Well, I haven't read the reasons why, because they normally put the reasons there. But we'll have a look at this and then find a way to ensure that next year our ranking is much better than 11th position.
Yeah, and you made a bold statement. Journalists have no reason to fear. We will not go back to the repressive years.
No, of course, yes. That one, even when I'm sleeping, I can say that. There is no intention. There is no, I don't know which word to use. We don't have any intention. It's not even our plans. We want to build on what we've already achieved as a success. This is the legacy of His Excellency the President. We will never go back to those years of repression where journalists are punished for doing their work. That will not happen under the leadership of His Excellency the President Adama Barrow.
Then maybe you should advise him, President Barrow, to not be saying certain things, because I saw a report recently. He was saying that certain, radio stations or media houses, all they do is criticize, and before he came, maybe some of these radio stations did not even exist.
But that's a fact.
No, it is a fact. But when he makes this reference all the time,
it's not a threat.
You feel that he has a longing.
No,
no,
it's not a threat.
To be able to muzzle.
No,
the media, like Barrow. No. I openly tell you that Coffee Time started in 2015.
Yes,
Barrow probably never contemplated, running for office, but we never did what we are doing today while Yahya Jammeh was around.
Yes, I understand that, but I think what clearly is happening is that there is no threat. These statements are not threats against journalists.
They don't help him.
Yeah, but
he
has the right to his opinions about the things are going.
I agree. So even if the opinion is hurting him, that's okay for him to be expressing.
I don't think it's hurting him.
Yeah.
No, it's not hurting. How is it hurting him?
Well, you read that, then people say, well, is he longing to have the same dictatorial tendencies? And this is why you hear people say, Adama Barrow is dictator inclined. He's just has not been given that opportunity. Otherwise,
no. I mean, Peter, if he was dictator inclined, we would know after 8 years of President Barrow in power. He doesn't have that temperament. He's not dictator inclined. President Barrow is the most peaceful, democratic president. He believes in democracy. That is how he operates. So that is why when people raise the alarm bell when he makes statements, I just laugh, because they don't know what they are talking about, to be honest. But he has no intention to really take us back to dictatorship. But Peter, just before I forget, I think it's fair for me to rectify what we discussed last week. In one of my updates, I said the government has signed an MOU with Ajib Bank for government payments. And then we asked a very critical question, why Ajib Bank? Then I didn't have the information that Ajib Bank was the last bank that the government had signed such an MOU with. They've signed it with all other banks as well, so it's not only Ajib Bank. They've signed it with GT Bank, Access Bank, Eco Bank, Bloom Bank, and Zenith Bank for the same purpose. So Ajib Bank was the last bank they've signed it with. I didn't have that information at the time when you asked that very important question. So I think it's important for us to tell the public that Ajib Bank is not given an exclusivity to provide this service for government, but one of the banks out of all the banks. But also, in that discussion, you mentioned Ajim Bank is fairly a new bank. It also was brought to my attention that it was incorporated in 1990.
Yes, it's the management that is.
It's not a new bank. It's been here for quite a while. I think it's important for us to be fair to Ajib to really make that rectification.
I had a brotherly conversation with Mohammed Jah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. We are very open. I mean, we interact with anybody and everybody in this country.
Yes, of course. That is the spirit. Yeah. That is the spirit. I mean, Peter, like I said, look, my belief is that nobody's perfect. And we cannot expect people to always do things right. And when they do things right, let us acknowledge what they've done right. When they do things wrong, like anybody can do, let us bring to their attention the shortcoming so they can improve and rectify them. That is why I believe in. That is why I'm open to people to criticizing us as a government, because it makes us develop. It makes us understand our weaknesses and our shortcomings and develop them. So this is the spirit of discussion. That's what I believe in.
It's 9:32. Dr. Ismaila Ceesay with us right up to the top of the hour, yes, and beyond, depending on how you people engage him. I'm going to start taking questions for you. Good morning, Uncle Peter. NAWEC ending their contract with Car Power. Does that mean the charges on the cash power will go back to normal, which is whatever amount you buy, that's the amount you will have on your cash power?
What do they mean by that? I've had people say this, that the amount you buy is the amount you have. No, what has happened is that there was a period, I think it was last year or year before last, there was an increment in the tariffs per kilowatt for both residential and industrial electricity. Now, there will be no change in the kilowatt price that people pay for electricity with the going of car power. Because currently, as we speak, government is subsidizing electricity. We are paying far less than we're supposed to pay if the government wasn't subsidizing in the millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. That is what government is subsidizing. Because if government wasn't subsidizing NAWEC, today we would have cost us a couple of, I don't have the figures, but we'll have been paying more for electricity. That should be clear. Now, what's wrong
with that? What's wrong with paying more for electricity if the service is good?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But government is subsidizing it because we know that the impact of COVID-19 and other is making some Gambians are struggling to make ends meet. So therefore, that is why government is subsidizing fuel. Today, if government wasn't subsidizing fuel, we'll be buying fuel at the pump at over $100 per liter.
And the price of fuel has been very stable.
Exactly, we would have been buying fuel at $100 per liter, perhaps if we didn't subsidize it. We subsidize fertilizer and granules for farmers. We're subsidizing NAWEC as well. All this, we're also making sure that rice and basic commodities don't pay duty free at the port, so just stabilize prices. I think this is commendable, is very commendable.
Yeah, but the guy's question is still unanswered. Are we going back to the former tariff, meaning that whatever you buy is whatever you buy?
Well, that is for NAWEC to make that assessment and decide that.
Okay, all right. You didn't get any information from NAWEC. Good morning, sir. Wonderful program as usual. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice told Parliament that they cannot disclose the buyers of the assets to the public, only to Parliament. What has changed that?
Well, what I understand is that I'm not sure what led to that assessment, but what I understand and what I've been told is that they've submitted a report and a list to Parliament. That's what I've been told.
Peter, no report was submitted to the National Assembly. Only a single page was submitted following a parliamentary question about the list of assets. So it is not true that a comprehensive report was submitted. If so, why can't the government publish that document he is claiming? And then this is Madi Jobate, and then he sent, which I'm forwarding to you immediately.
I have this, so I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it?
I've seen it. So I've gone through it.
So this is what is given to Parliament.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what is given to Parliament. When I asked, that's what they told me. Well, now, what is important now is that government will publish the full report and also the names of those who bought the assets. That government will do, and that's a commitment made by government.
Good morning, Uncle Peter. Can you please ask the Minister to clarify for us what the government is going to do about the property allocated to Abubakar Jawara at Lamin for the purpose of building and operating a tomato factory? He has turned it into stores and office spaces, which is contrary to the reasons for the allocation. What is the government going to do about this issue?
Well, I don't have any information about that.
Yeah, but do you know the
I know there is a tomato factory that was there owned by Abubakar Jawara Gaj. I'm not sure the status of it now.
Even there was supposed to be a tomato factory.
There was. I think there still is. I don't know. My assumption is that there's a tomato factory. Whether it's existing or is operating or not, I don't know.
Good morning, Uncle Peter and Dr. Ceesay. Doctor's answers about the Republic are not convincing at all. The report implicates the government in totality. Jammeh Commission cannot be excluded from the government.
Jammeh government was an independent commission established by statute. Yes, I understand the point.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they did the sales independently of government. So therefore, that needs to be clear. Yes, government has the responsibility to account to the people how they did that sale, and that is the report that we'll publish.
Peter, it is unfortunate that this government is, for the most part, on the defensive. I say on the defensive because the government should have proactively... Oh, yeah, he's gone. Maybe it will come back again. I just started reading it and the person deleted it. Technology is very interesting. Would you please tell the Honorable Minister to update us on the foreign money, dollars, and the dollars intercepted at the checkpoint at Jinoi, Mansakonko?
I think the last time I checked, the police were still investigating.
Investigation never ends?
Well, I mean, they have to do their job.
Okay. Sidiko Suno from Faraba Banta. Adama's government must disclose the individuals who purchased the assets. Yaya Jammeh looted from the Gambians. We must know who bought Jammeh's seized assets, all of them, for accountability. You have said that.
Yes, we will. The government will. The government has nothing to hide, like I said. This government, like I said, Peter, is the most transparent government in the history of this country. And also the most...
Sometimes it takes being pushed for that transparency to be delivered.
That is normal. Currently we are trying to promote what we call proactive disclosure. But like I said, there are still challenges to ensure that government is always on top of the game. These challenges will be, we are finding ways to ensure that at least we don't find ourselves in this situation always as to whereby we'll have to be forced to give information. That is why we established the ATI, the Access to Information Law, all geared towards helping us ensure that there's proactive disclosure.
Good morning. Why the delay in salaries to board schools? Even our graduates are not paid since January. And this is from Mr. Jallo.
Well, I'll engage the Minister of Education from here to find out what is happening.
January, February, March, April, no pay.
I don't know the details, like I said. I don't think that is the case. If that is the case, then I'll find out. By the way, I don't want to comment on something I have no idea about.
Good morning, Uncle Peter. If the sale was so transparent as he is implying, then publicity would have not only been on websites, radio stations, and news media houses would have been fully involved. Why website publicity only? We never advertised, anything for the Jammeh Commission.
The Jammeh Commission, I'm not sure how that process went, like I said. Yeah. But for the receiver, the estates and the shares, those were advertised and publicly advertised to the website that was created.
Since the Jammeh, when the immigration department cannot issue ID cards to citizens in Gambia, I think you need to maybe say something about this ID card issuance in Mauritania, because
yes.
that's another. When the immigration department cannot issue ID cards to citizens in the Gambia, which is a fact, some of us are still waiting, to renew our ID cards. It's not possible. It is absurd and suspicious that they can go to Mauritania to issue ID cards. Are they preparing for the do or die 2026 election?
No. I've heard that people make that connection, and I find it laughable. Government has no intention to do such a thing. The only reason why government sent a consular service to Mauritania is to support Gambians who were in dire need of identity documents so they can regularize their stay. Now, as a government, we value every Gambian, no matter where you are. Every Gambian's welfare is our priority, whether you are in Mauritania or in Australia or whether you are in Gambia. Yes, there are challenges in issuing ID cards in the Gambia, even though they are being issued. I don't know the pace at which they are being issued and how they are doing it. But the government had sent a special envoy to Mauritania to discuss with the Mauritanian authorities the welfare of Gambians in that country after reports emerged that their rights were being constantly violated. Now, when that discussion went ahead, we realized that for them to regularize their stay, they'll need ID cards and some consular service. And the president sent an 8-man consular team to support them. This is geared towards ensuring the Gambians living in Mauritania, their rights are protected and also their stay is regularized. But to say that it is done because this was even announced by the government, if the government had any intention to really give ID cards for the purpose of elections, it would be done clandestinely. This was a public. I came here and I announced.
There's nothing you can do clandestinely.
No, that's what I'm saying is that we announced that government had sent. If I came here and as part of my updates, I said government has sent an 8-man team to offer consular service to Gambians, and consular services to Gambians to provide ID cards is done over the world. Other countries do it. So for me, I think Gambians should even celebrate and be happy that we are extending support to some Gambians who are living in Mauritania and needed support. I think government should be commended for that.
Good morning, Uncle. Well, I suppose somebody is sending a message to the Republic through the program. Good morning, Uncle. The Republic, your next stop should be the Gambia Football House. Investigate how money is meant for football from FIFA and CAF are being used. And this is from Aliu Venga. Aliu, you wait until Wednesday evening, 7 to 8 o'clock. The GFF has a program on this frequency. They might be able to answer you.
The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GCCI, hosts the 18th edition of the Trade Fair Gambia International, the country's premier business and innovative event that brings together local entrepreneurs, regional investors, and international brands. Trade Fair Gambia International 2025 is in full swing at the Trade Fair grounds in Bruceby turntable. And this year, it has become a one-stop destination for all your Tabaski shopping. This year's fair showcases over 700 exhibitors from across Africa and beyond. From elegant outfits and stylish shoes to home decor, kitchenwares, and gifts for the whole family. Everything you need right here on the one roof. And beyond shopping, the fair brings a festive atmosphere with lots of food, music, and activities for the entire family. Local and regional vendors are stocked up with special Tabaski deals, making it easier than ever to shop smart and support small businesses. Organized by the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Trade Fair Gambia International 2025 is helping bring communities together and making this Tabaski more convenient, affordable, and a memorial one. So why wait? Come down to the Trade Fair ground and celebrate the season in style. Think Tabaski, think Trade Fair.
Axila jam si Wave.
Yow Ablaye, yow lu tax doo dee dégg lu tax mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis hello ana lay waxal
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Eh, bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills, and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bisul mu fine. Wave. Your money is yours.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.